One thing that always intrigued me ever since I got into the Mother series is that unlike most video game series from its time, it doesn't use 2D artwork for all of its promotional marketing. Most games you'd see would have covers like this, or this, or this, and yet Mother had something a lot more simple. Obviously this isn't a bad thing, but what was interesting to me was that replacing this 2D artwork was physical clay models of the characters. Both Mother 1 and 2 had clay models made by MACOATL, and they're iconic, unique, and well, I think they're cool. But something also intriguing is that despite Mother 1 and 2 having clay models, Mother 3 never received any. Or did it? Didn't it? A quick Google search seems to contradict this statement, does it not? In case you weren't aware, none of these clay models here are official, they're fan-made. But how did we get to a point where these fan-made clay models are still largely mistaken to be official, and why exactly did the game never receive official ones to begin with? Let's dive into Mother 3's history to gain an understanding. As hopefully most of you all know, Mother 3 began as a Super Famicom game briefly, before becoming a Nintendo 64 DD game, then base N64 game. Of course, the characters in this version of Mother 3 were depicted as 3D models, and promotional material released during the development of the game utilized these in-game 3D models, often in a setting rendered not in-engine however. While this is ultimately a guess, it's very likely that instead of using 2D artwork or clay models, Earthbound 64 would have done what was commonly used to promote N64 games at the time, which was to use SGI models. What's an SGI model, you ask? Let me hand the stage over to Retro64 to explain.
An SGI model is given its moniker due to them being created on Silicon Graphics workstations, with the acronym meaning Silicon Graphics Imagery. An SGI model is made up of NURBS, or non-uniform rational basis spline. This is because rather than models commonly used today, which are made up of thousands or even millions of polygons to get high detail, NURBS use curves to fill in points. This allows for smooth, higher detail 3D models that were much easier to render and work with during the time.
In fact, we have a couple of images of SGI renders made for Earthbound 64, this first one being a very shiny Mr. Saturn, and the second one being from the Mother 3 Times Volume 17. It depicts delicious Kraken soup, presumably made from Earthbound 64's Kraken. Anyways, it's unknown as to if Mother 3 on N64 would receive clay models. The game never came out, so what marketing and promotion they would have used upon release is a mystery. Afterwards, in 2003, Mother 3 for GBA was confirmed to be entered into development. At the same time, the old Mother 1 and 2 clay models were out and about being used to promote the release of Mother 1+2. Surely you could reasonably assume that Mother 3 would be receiving ones when that game would release, right? Well, it never received any. During the couple of months of promotion leading up to the game's release, only sprites from the game were used to showcase the characters, and upon release, the manual for the game only contained sprites as well. Now, the thing about that is, I can say I've seen many examples of these clay models mistaken as official. What are they? Well, they're fan-made Mother 3 clay models. These were all done by a fellow known as Flint of Mother 3 on DeviantArt, otherwise known as MACOATL on other platforms. You may know him for having created the Where in the World is Pokey Minch comic series, or for having drawn this art of Mario and Luigi. He's done a lot in his time. Seeing as no official clay models were produced for Mother 3, he stepped in and provided what Nintendo didn't. Shortly before the release of the game, he drew up concept art of the main characters to provide as reference for how he wanted the models to look. By September of 2006, all of his models from his first set were completed. And as I mentioned, oftentimes people will use these clay models in a context that implies they're official. And I've seen countless times people straight up admit they thought they were official. Oftentimes, Mother series fan artists will take inspiration from how these clay models look too. They're pretty much the stand-ins for official clay models that never existed. Did you know though he made more than just this set? Some of the other Mother ones also made by him include a pig mask, the Masked Man, and Porky. Oh, as well as a revised Lucas and Klaus, and a new set of Lucas, Kumatora, Duster and Rope Snake, and Boney. There's something immensely iconic about the first set of clay models Flint of Mother 3 made, however. I feel like as long as Mother 3 has an online community and fans all around the world, these clay models will continue to be relevant. Now, what if I told you I've actually been in contact with Flint of Mother 3, and asked him some questions regarding his insight on modeling clay, making the Mother 3 clay models, and some other questions? Well, I sure hope that's intriguing to you because I have that lined up for you right now. Folks, please welcome Flint of Mother 3. Question 1. How did you get into the art of modeling clay?
Well, I started doing figures with plasticine or modeling clay for kids since I was really young, around 5, 6 year old. Most of my days from the school I spent it doing figures. I made dinosaurs, monsters, characters from Super Mario, Mega Man, Sonic, many. So I've been doing clay figures basically my entire life. Ironically, I don't do that many figures these days because it's a lot easier to just make drawings than making a figure. And also I got a little bit frustrated with plasticine as it gets damaged really easily. And the other materials I have experimented haven't given me that good results so far.
Question 2. What made you decide you were going to make clay models for Mother 3? Was it an expectation that the game would never receive official ones?
Well, back when the game was going to come out, Ito was doing this thing where each Tuesday, if I remember correctly, they were giving a little bit of info on the game. And when we reached the part where we saw all the characters and we saw that there was no clay figures this time, I decided I better do something myself. The clay figures for the series have been a real big inspiration for me. And I decided I have already done back then Ness, Paula, and some other characters for Mother 2. But I said, let's try making these characters based on the sprites and on the old figure for Mother 2. And if there is never an official figure, at least I will going to provide something for the fandom.
Question 3. These clay models were made at a point not long after Mother 3's release, long before sprites of the characters had been ripped or other resources for references were available. Did this at all present a challenge in any way for designing and producing these clay models?
It was a little bit of a challenge, but I made the figures once the game was already out in Japan, so I can check a little bit of the sprites. The sprites for the game, the GBA games, were really easy to come, and also I take a lot of reference from the old figures for Mother 2. For example, Flint is based on one of the Runaway 5, one just the tall, skinny one. I based Flint around on his complexion. Bonnie, it's based on King. Hinawa is based on Ness mom and a little bit of Venus. So taking in fact the figures from Mother 2 and the little bit we have from the sprites, that was what I used to create the designs. Before I made the figures, I did some character design. These were my character designs to see if they were okay. I made these drawings and then posted them on starman.net and got a little bit of feedback from the people there. So I could know if I was going on the right way or if something was wrong. For example, the hairstyle for both Lucas and Klaus were really difficult to discern from the tiny sprites. But most people gave me the okay from these designs, and then I went into designing the rest of the characters.
Question 4. Related to the last question, seeing as the Mother 3 fan translation still had a long way to go before release, how much did you know about each character before you designed their clay model?
I don't really know much. I know the description that was on the Shigesato Ito's website for Mother 3 that were really short, were mostly 1 or 2 sentences. If I remember correctly, it was something like Flint, stern and protective father, Hinawa, wall-carrying mother, and something like that. That and the sprites was all I had to create the figure, and of course Mother 2 figures also as a reference.
Question 5. Did you ever expect your Mother 3 clay models would commonly be mistaken for official, as well as essentially become the base for how countless Mother fans interpret the designs for the characters?
Not really. I was just doing the figure because since there were no official Mother 3 figures, I decided, okay, I know how to make figures, I love Mother, let's make some figures so the fandom have something for them. I posted them originally on starman.net, and since that was the hub for most of the Mother fandom at the time, that helped to widespread the figures across the world. Also, we have that the internet was basically on its early years. These were the early aughts, if I don't remember well. So they spread everywhere. It wasn't expected, but it's one of my proudest achievements, if I must say.
Question 6. Seeing as you were a fan way back when, were you anticipating Earthbound 64 to receive clay models upon release?
I was not that sure if it was going to be figured for Airborne 64, because we have already seen plenty of art, official art, in the shape of the official 3D model from the game, but with better rendering. I expected that was going to be the official 3D art for that game.
Question 7. Your clay models of the Mother 3 characters predate any official 3D models of the characters, not counting their Earthbound 64 ones. So, what are your thoughts on the official 3D models from Smash Bros. For Lucas, Kumatora, and Boney?
I love them. They are better than mine. The moment I saw Lucas had a 3D model in Brawl, I started adding eyebrows to all my Lucas models. And I think the model for Kumatora and Bonnie are top notch. Those are the official depictions, and I am not difficult to persuade into going with the official stuff. I just wish they release an official Duster 3D model so we can have the 4 main playable characters together. But what can we do?
Question 8. Do you still enjoy sculpting? What's your most recent model you've made?
I still enjoy sculpting, but plasticine it's really difficult to keep, and the other materials I have experimented have not given me the results I really like. So I have moved mostly from sculpting to drawing. These days I mostly draw. I have posted a few figures of the most recent stuff I have done. I think the most recent stuff I have done is from a year ago. I mostly do 1 or 2 figures each year. I have done a little bit of figures for commissions. For example, I did the figures for a game that's coming out that's called Starstruck. If you look for that game, I didn't design the characters, but I made figures because they wanted to get that Airbound feel with their characters.
Question 9. Out of all of your Mother series clay models you've made, which is your personal favorite?
Well, my personal favorite, on first side, a figure I did of Bucky on its spider match. Then it's Flint, because I related a lot to Flint for some reason or another. And Bonnie, because I think Bonnie is the figure that turned out the best from all the ones I have done.
And question 10. Do you think you'll ever make any new Mother series clay models at some point?
Maybe. Many times I have thought of redoing all the figures from the main playable party now that we have the official reference in Smash Bros. Ultimate, but we still need a Duster. And I don't know if it's needed. There are a lot of people who do a lot better work than I. Artsy Omni did an amazing work with their 3D models. They are spot on. Maybe I will do another figures. I want to make some of character from Mother 1 and Mother 2 that didn't have a figure. For example, I would love to make an Eve figure. I would love to make maybe a Giga figure. Maybe with time. These days I don't have that much time for making clay figures, sadly. But I do enjoy a lot drawing and doing other stuff, so I'm not frustrated by that.
I hope that provided some insight on how his Mother 3 clay models came to be. I wonder how all of those are still holding up now. Anyways, it needs to be said in a video such as this that of course others have produced Mother 3 clay models other than just MACOATL. So let's go over a couple of other examples briefly of what other fans have made. Camille Young, also known as Mila, produced many Mother 3 clay models for the purpose of Fangamer's Mother 3 guidebook. She made ones of many enemy characters and they're all pretty cool. I like a lot of the small details on these, such as Flynn and Hinawa having wedding rings. Ironically though, despite these being clay models that you'd think would be more widespread, even being on the website that hosts the download to the Mother 3 fan translation, I never see these posted online as commonly as Flynn of Mother 3's. I guess getting in first can go a long way. A more recent example of Mother 3 clay models are these ones from last year from Matabai on Instagram and Twitter. Love how Flint's one is partially based on his Earthbound 64 design. I may have gone a bit off track in terms of answering the underlying question of this video, which was why did Mother 3 not receive official clay models? To answer that, there's a few reasons. 1. Producing clay models is costly. Even if they only did the main characters, that's still a costly investment for a game that ironically already wasn't able to turn a profit. And 2, they ultimately mustn't have been deemed as necessary. There's a good quote about this that I read out loud in this video that you should watch too, but to summarize, Itoi cut the subtitle from Mother 3's title, because he wanted players to go into the game with as little expectations for the story as possible. For the GBA version, he intended not to hype the characters up much by showing them off a whole lot in promotional material. Making clay models for them in the end wasn't something they needed to spend their time on for promoting the game. Mother 3 GBA did have a pretty sparse selection of promotional materials created, with only a very limited amount of those highlighting the main characters. Most of its promotional material was more along the lines of this. So yeah, it wasn't cost effective nor really that good of an investment on the part of the dev team for Mother 3, so that's why we likely never saw official clay models. But hey, we have so many awesome fan clay models as a result. Speaking of awesome clay models, something I neglected to mention earlier is that the thing that makes clay models particularly cool is that these are almost always real, tangible, physical items that exist in real life. And even though oftentimes you may only see them from a singular angle for one image, there's a lot more to appreciate than just that single view. Well, courtesy of Flynn of Mother 3, he's provided me something amazing, which is footage of what his original Mother 3 clay models from 2006, as well as several others look like today. Sit back and enjoy this footage, everyone.
Here are some of the Mother 3 figures. I have them in this box. Let's see how they are now after some many years. As you can see, most of them are fine. They are quite solid, quite resilient. They lasted many years inside a glass dome, but due to that, some of their color has faded a little bit. Let's see them one by one. Start with Lucas. I did a little bit of repainting some years later, so the colors aren't the same as from the picture I took. Its shirt looks a little bit more orange than original. Here's Klaus. Still seems to be quite fine. I also did a little bit of repainting. I think these two are the ones I am less happy now of how they look. That's due to the Smash Brothers 3D model. Now we know how they should have looked from the beginning. Kumatora. She's also quite fine. You also can see that I gave her yellow shorts to avoid some precarious photos. Here's Flint. Flint is my favorite of them all. Well, it's my favorite character, but it's not my favorite figure. That's all. Quite solid right now. My favorite, it's Bunny. I think Bunny is the figure that turned it the best. That's because I based it a lot on King. It's basically Brown King with a handkerchief. Hinawa. Today I find her a little bit lanky. If I could redo it, if I have the time, I will make her a little bit chunkier. With her neck and her arms are way too thin for my taste these days. Duster. As you can see, he has lost an arm, a hand, but don't worry, the hand must be right here, and you need to install it here, and he is complete once again. Salsa. Of course, I based here Salsa in Bubble Monkey. I think the I don't remember if the colic is present on the sprite. And now the figures that most people don't know. I made a pig mask. Originally it was fully pink, as you can see on their helmet, but it lost a lot of color along the years. I also made a gun. I made this pig mask once the game was out, so I could base him on one of the sprites. Also later, I made Facade. This figure is not really that famous as the others, but I also made it. I think it was important enough to get its own figure. As you can see, it's really short. It's not as big as the other figures. And later, once Smash Brothers was already out, I redid Lucas. I like this figure a lot better, but since it was not in the first batch, it was not as famous as the others. And I also did Klaus. This is one I am not so happy with, but here they are. And as you can see, those are all the mother figures on their current state. Most of them are fine, as you can see. Some lost a little bit of color, like the pig mask or the shirts from the kids. But that's all. That's the reason why I'm keeping them inside this box. Because when I had them outside with the sunlight was washing them out a little bit.
Wow, surreal to see, isn't it? Well, you'd like to see how these ones, as well as a couple other Mother 3 ones, are holding up today too, right? Well, sit back once again and enjoy.
Hi, I'm back. Well, another thing I wanted to show most of you is that years later, after the game was released around the 10th anniversary, I believe, back when the game was re-released on the Wii U Virtual Console, I was contacted by the Nintendo Force magazine to make them a cover, so I did newer figures. These figures, unlike the first ones, are way bigger and they have a better action pose. For example, there is no new Flint, so let's move Flint away. Here is the new Duster. As you can see, the pose is way better, or at least that's what I think. You can compare him with the original. He is also a little bit bigger. And these figures can have a little bit of movement, not that much to tell you the truth, just in the elbows and knees they can move a little bit. And in this set of figures I made all the the four playable characters. Here's Duster. Here's Lucas. I like this Lucas a lot better. This time I didn't add the stripes on his shirt. I added them later on the computer. Here's Kumatora. Also, I think I like this one a lot better. And here is Bonnie. Once again, Bonnie, it's my favorite. This time he has his black spot on the top, just like the sprite. And I don't remember if for this time we already have seen the Bonnie and Kumatora on the final smash from Lucas in Smash 4. I'm not sure. I think that was added for Ultimate instead. And besides those four, I also made a new pig mask. This time I made him white, so I can color him on the PC. He's also way bigger than the original. Let's make a little bit of comparison. Here, original and the second one. Original, the second one, and the original. The original Bonnie and the second one. Original Kumatora and the second one, and of course the original Lucas. Well, the second one Lucas. Here is the original, and here was another one I did in between. I also did some other. Here is a Klaus that I like a lot better, but this Klaus is different from all these other figures because this Klaus is not made of epoxy, it's not solid. This is made of plasticine, which means that I can move some of his hands, etc., but also means that a nail or it gets damaged really easily. That's why I kept him along with many other figures I have inside a freezer that no longer works. And I also did a bigger gun for the pig mask. And a smaller gun so I can have the two kinds, and of course our good old friend the rope snake. And those are many of the figures I did for Mother 3 back before the game came out, and when it was its 10th anniversary.
Awesome stuff. Lucas's sprites and the pig mask's colour being added in post reminds me a lot of how the American Nessun Polar clay models aren't actually real physical models that exist, but instead are just photoshops of their original clay models. Now, have you gotten your fix yet? I don't think so. For fun, here's one more video Flint of Mother 3 sent, showcasing even more Mother Series clay models, as well as some other ones he's made, such as ones for OCs. Please enjoy.
Okay, I'm here again. Here, there are some other figures I have done along the years. I made some of my favorite characters from Undertale. I kinda lost the motivation once Fangamer came out with official figures, because I know that my figures were not as close to as envisioned by Toby Fox as the original, but I'm happy with this. These are a little bit dirty. They need a little bit of washing to get them on top shape once again. Flo is my favorite character from Undertale. And here is a Mario I made that I am quite proud of. Another Mother 3 character that I didn't show you is I did this Masked Man. But as many of these figures, it needs a little bit of washing to get it in top shape once again. And some people might know that I did the characters from the game previously known as Mother 4, now Oddity. Here are some of the early designs and some of the layer designs of the characters. Don't ask me anything about Oddity because I have lost contact with the people who are making it a long time ago. And besides the main characters, here are some random things. Here are 2 characters from my webcomic MACOATL. It's also a little bit inspired by Earthbound, among other things. You can see how here Theo has Ness eyes. I based that on that. And my crowning achievement of Mother Figures, what I think is my crowning achievement of Mother Figures, is this guy. Pocky on his spider mech from Mother 2. This is from a toy capsule. I can't make a transparent dome. I don't know how, to tell you the truth. But I really like how this turned out. Pocky, it's even removable from its seat. And here you have it, the little bastard. And well, I think that's all about my figures, the Mother 3 figures that had passed as official for many years. I think I was just lucky to get them out right on time before the game came out. That led to many years of them spread across the internet. And thank for all of you who have enjoyed the figures. They make me really proud that so many people think they are the official ones, even if official ones do not exist. Thank you for all.
And that's all for now. Thank you so much to Flynn of Mother 3 / MACOATL for providing not only an awesome interview, but also all this footage. It really gave me new insight on the creation of these clay models, and I hope it did the same for all of you too. Be sure to check out his socials, link in the description. As always, thanks to everyone else who helped in making this video a reality. This was a whole lot of fun to make, and I hope it was just as fun to view as it was for me to make. And I hope you all learned something new from this. Have a great day and see you all in the next one.